I haven't made a Second Amendment video in a while. I've been talking about black issues on my other channel and the gender war and all that other crap. But, I notice like when I try to look up some updates, I usually just click on YouTube and I'll try to look up some updates about the Second Amendment, right? What's the Supreme Court doing? What are the updates, right? And I can either go to Armed Scholar, which I actually prefer, or is it Guns and Gear or Guns and Gadgets? I always get the Mr. Clean mixed up with, well, technically speaking, they're both Mr. Clean, but I'm saying skinny Mr. Clean and overweight Mr. Clean. But anyway, although they have an age gap between them, so I shouldn't even say that. But anyway, I'm always trying to get updates on like what's going on. I believe that I don't think the Supreme Court would look at these cases, based on Heller and McDonald. I don't think that they would look at these cases if they weren't going to rule in favor of gun rights. That's why New York is freaking out. I think New York messed up. They played their hand too early. I'm saying messed up in terms of gun control, right? If you believe in gun control, because they played their hand a little bit too early and they played their hand too hard. That whole New York Gun Pistol Association, whatever it was, case that got deemed moot because of the fact that they said, oh, well, we changed the law, nothing to see here, throw rocks, hide your hands. Which, when you really look at it, I mean, that's not how it's supposed to go down. Oh, the case is moot because, we changed the law at the last minute. So basically what you're doing is you're setting it up to where you go out here, you intentionally violate people's rights. You hope that the Supreme Court won't take it up. And then when they do take it up, you change it at the last minute to make it moot. But what that does is it sets the precedent to allow you to consistently violate people's constitutional rights by quote unquote pushing the envelope. Let's see how far we can take. We'll just keep there's nothing that deters you at that point from violating people's rights. You're just going to violate them until the Supreme Court looks in your direction, and then as soon as they do, you just simply change the law. That sets horrible precedent, and it threatens to undermine the entire system, let alone the legitimacy of America's judicial system. I'm saying if you even, subscribe to the idea that there's legitimacy and whatnot. Because I know there's people who don't. But when it comes to, like, when I'm looking up these news videos about the Second Amendment, the left is brilliant when it comes to play on words. There's two things that the right, well, actually, no, I'm not going to say the right isn't good at play on words. Because, they say shit like, make America great again, which basically means, like, let's take us back to the 1950s and Jim Crow, where, like, white supremacy was firmly established and, black people, we relegated them to nothing but ghettos and, redlined and blockbusted them to death. That's really what they mean. We want to have these exclusive, predominantly white territories and keep the minorities over there, and manufacturing in America is number one, and, everybody's got full medical and dental and unionized jobs, and, and we're all good, right? But then the same people who subscribe to that don't believe in unionized jobs, and, but they want to have it to where they exclusively are able to get unionized jobs, but then they'll say unionized jobs, or that's socialism, and that prevents companies from engaging in capitalism and being prosperous, and we can't pay wages like that, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense, because if you want to say make America great again and go back to that time period, then you got to recognize that back then they had unionized wages. The wages were strong until Reagan came along. But anyway, let me get off my soapbox. I'm saying what the left does with the play on words that I pick up on is they'll say the Supreme Court, like all these news, because the news is basically the left, right? And so I click on this to ABC, whatever, and they'll say the Supreme Court wants to expand gun rights. I'm like, expand gun rights? The Supreme Court wants to expand gun rights. Expand. I'm like, when you really look at it, you got New York, California, New Jersey, Maryland, right? Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and I'm saying, I think Massachusetts and Rhode Island, I mean, Connecticut, they're like marginally better than, example, New Jersey and New York, where you can't get a permit at all. You got to have justifiable need and good cause, which is like one of the things that kind of irritate me. And I'm going to get on that soapbox in a second about, how all these gun control laws were created, back in 1968 to basically, stop black gun ownership, the Mulford Act, all that shit. And now it's being used against white people, and I don't know. I feel some type of way about that. And it's like you got Clarence Thomas up there, the black man, being essentially the only Supreme Court justice that has the balls to protect the Second Amendment rights, right? But you got, white conservatives, a lot of them they don't deal with black people. They don't care for black people, right? And then you got black people who don't care for Clarence Thomas because they want to say he's a coon and Uncle Tom and all this other stuff, right? And it's like you got the one person that nobody likes on either side for stupid reasons that is actually defending the Constitution. It's mind-boggling to me. Like, you have this black man, descendant of slaves, the way that America has treated black people, and it is the black man that is actually, upholding the words of the damn Constitution. Like, it's just mind-boggling. Because if it wasn't for Clarence Thomas, I mean, seriously, like, who would you have really pushing the envelope on the Second Amendment? As I told somebody recently, I said, the Second Amendment is really, they were like, asking me like, what is the Second Amendment? And having a true intellectual conversation about the Second Amendment. And I'm like, it's a prenuptial agreement. It's a prenuptial agreement in the event that the government becomes abusive. But that's really what it should be looked at, as a prenuptial agreement. But anyway, getting back to my point. Like this whole statement about, the Supreme Court looks to expand the Second Amendment. No. What the Supreme Court would be doing is bringing states like New York and California and Hawaii. It would be bringing those states in league. Damn, I dropped my phone. It would be bringing those states in league with the rest of the country. All the other, all the other like 40 some odd states. It would be bringing them in league with those states. I mean, you can conceal carry, it shall issue. The overwhelming majority of the states of the United States, especially if you look at, if you got one of those not constitutional carry, but if you got one of those Second Amendment apps on your phone, you can clearly see that it's only the coast that are shall issue states. The Northeast and pretty much all the West Coast, because California is so damn big. I mean, that's what it is. So when they talk about expansion of the Second Amendment rights, like, again, that's another play on words. I mean, like they're stating it as though the vast majority of America doesn't already have those rights. It's not an expansion. What it is bringing all of these liberal states in line with the rest of the country. But obviously liberal news is gonna play it out that way. All right. But I just wanted to make a video, speaking to that. It's just there's a long way to go. I know African Americans bought more firearms, than anybody, and we still got the racial issues with, being a law-abiding, black gun owner, and I mean, the funny thing is, it's like, you already know it's messed up when it comes to being a black gun owner, because if this country fights so hard to keep guns out of the hands of white people, that's what people don't even recognize. And yet and still, it's always divide and conquer. You get the government, they come through and, they get the through racism and white supremacy, they get the white people to co-sign keeping guns out of the hands of black folks. And the white people co-signed it. 50, 60 years ago, they co-signed it. Not realizing that, again, due to the purity of the language, that liberals would come through and then use it against them. and basically used the laws on the books that were designed to keep black people and other minorities, like, you know, the Italians in New York. A lot of those original gun laws in New York were designed to keep guns out of the hands of Italians, not black people. In the South, they were designed to keep guns out of the hands of black people. But in New York, it was designed to keep guns out of the hands of Italians. You know, so, you know, I mean, this is, you know, what it is. I'm just waiting for there to be a line drawn in the sand, a line that needed to be, you know, be drawn a long time ago. A long time ago. I mean, it shouldn't take, you know, a lifetime, you know, to be able to, you know, exercise a right. I mean, it's like, what do these Supreme Court justices do? Like, they sit up there and twiddle their thumbs decade after decade. It takes decades for them to address, you know, some of these issues that are big, major issues right at the forefront. And like I said, you know, I can't charge Clarence Thomas because he called out the court for that. You treat the Second Amendment like it's some sort of pariah. You know, you treat the Second Amendment like it's a secondary right. Every other right, we don't treat the First Amendment like that. We don't treat any other right like that. But when it comes to the Second Amendment, oh, well, you know, let the states decide. And then when you have the states violate, I mean, just basically restrict the right into oblivion where you can't exercise it. I mean, they would never allow that with any other right. But somehow when it comes to the Second Amendment, it's okay. And it's been okay. You know, so, I mean, we got to deal with this crap with Joe Biden, you know, banning Russian ammunition, which is like the stupidest thing. It's like, oh, we're preventing mass shootings, or, oh, it's about sanctions on Russia. There's other ways they could have done sanctions on Russia. This is going to have no impact on Russia. And the crazy thing is, the left always says it's about safety, gun safety. We got to have gun safety. It's all about gun safety, 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 safety. And yet, and still, they think banning the cheapest ammunition that people can get, which is going to drive up the prices on all the other ammunition, somehow encourages safety. No, what's going to happen is, what has happened, you know, since the pandemic and post George Floyd, right? All that's going to happen is people aren't going to go to the range as much. So therefore, they're not going to practice. Yet you have the Supreme Court in the background getting ready, right, to bring all of the blue states in line with the rest of the country, which means what? More people with concealed carry permits, right? More people carrying firearms. And despite the fact that now we're going to have more people carrying firearms, we're going to have more untrained people carrying firearms because the liberals went off and decided to ban all the cheap ammunition, which drives up the ammo price, which means that people are going to go to the range less, which means they're going to practice less, which means they're going to be less proficient with their firearm. But yet the left jumps up there and likes to champion itself as, you know, the vanguards of firearm safety. It's bullshit. I mean, it's bullshit. Bottom line, no, it's not about that. It's just about making it as onerous, you know, to be a gun owner as possible. Does nothing to address actual criminals, does nothing to address actual crime, right? You know, the liberals always say they're the party of the people and whatnot, but they never seem to address inner city poverty. They never seem to address, you know, bringing manufacturing back to the inner cities where people reside and where majority of the poverty is. You know, it's like Captain Solo when we talk about you know, the how Detroit collapsed. Detroit collapsed because the auto industry left. Gangs, you know, because I've seen these white conservatives, you know, talk dumb shit. You know, gangs did not show up at the plant and start having drive-by shootings in the plant, and that's what drove General Motors and Ford away from Detroit. No, they wanted to manufacture their cars for cheap. I mean, why don't you go and look at the history about how, you know, during the oil embargo or whatever it was, the OPEC crisis back in the late 70s, you know, these companies were invested in Japanese companies like Mitsubishi, you know, and helped, you know, had, you know, stocks in these companies when these cars were coming over that were more fuel efficient. So who was really getting screwed were the workers that were on the line, who majority of which were white. But again, you can never get white working class people to see this crap. They always go up there, oh, it's the blacks, us versus the blacks, and us versus the this other group, and they always look at it like that, like poor, ignorant, don't have any education. White people typically do, not the sharpest tools in the drawer. They always, they always fall for the symbolism of what it's been American patriotism and the American flag, and they sign up for all these ideas of patriotism while they're slowly getting screwed, and they don't see it. It's like boiling a frog, just real slow. Just turn up the heat real slow. They never see it, and it's irritating. And then oftentimes as a black man, you find yourself on the same side of the aisle as them when it comes to the Second Amendment, but for different reasons. And you and they literally, I hate, what I can't stand is how white people try to control both sides of the narrative. Like, I'm not here for you. And granted, like, we got to set aside our differences and come together and form Voltron and whatnot. But I still think you're a racist and you're a bigot. I mean, it's just that simple. I look at the stuff that, these people post online and what they got to say, and, just how uncomfortable they get when you have young black men who are actually armed and got body armor and level 4 armor and AR-15. They get nervous. College Humor actually did a real hilarious clip, on that, when it came to, the Second Amendment, and just how uncomfortable white people get when it comes to that. They support you, but not really, and you can feel that. And we talk about that in the black gun community. We talk about that, the undercurrent of it, the undercurrent. It's not overt all the time. I mean, I honestly, I've never had, a real racist experience when it comes to, like when I go to gun shows and stuff like that. Oh, the white people are, they're very open and very helpful. But when these people get to hide behind an anonymous screen name, when you go and you read the comment sections on YouTube, you see, that's where the masses of people are, and that's where their heart is. That's their belief system, you see. So it's a little different. It's not, when people are in your face, there's a lot of white folks out here when it comes to the, they're like hyenas. I had somebody say that to me. They were like, white people are like hyenas, man. He's like, they're not like, when you see a lion will go and take down a water buffalo by itself. But white people don't act like that. He's like, they're like hyenas, man. They're opportunists. They wait until they got numbers or they have some sort of advantage, and then they go in. It's not a matter. They don't operate on any sort of honor code or, chivalry or gentleman's honor and stuff like that. Meanwhile, they'll sit up there and try to pretend like they do and then try to hold you to it. But they don't really operate like that. They're like hyenas. And I couldn't disagree, with what he was saying, because I see it myself. They are all buddy with you, because I'm a big guy. They get all buddy with you and everything else like that. But then, some of them, when, they start talking real sideways when they feel like, it's just you in the room. You're the only black guy in the room. They feel they get more, they're more emboldened to really, speak their mind, because they don't think that there's going to be an angry black man response, because they're like, oh, we outnumber you. So it's real funny how that plays out. It'll be extra friendly, and then slowly as the room becomes wider and wider, then all of a sudden, that they become more passive aggressive until it turns into open hostility. Because they're like, yes, backup has arrived. But again, these are the things that people don't want to talk about. They want to sit there, let's just talk about the Second Amendment, and that's it. Let's not talk about the elephant in the room. Nobody wants to talk about the elephant in the room. But as a black man, an American descendant of slaves, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the Second Amendment and race relations in America don't have a very ugly history. But and maybe we can move forward, from that. But I mean, a lot of shit is going to have to, police reform is going to have to change. You got a lot of armed black people out here, and again, the whole situation with Philando Castile, although I do wish that he would have complied, because the officer did tell him not to grab the gun. Do I think it was necessary to dump a magazine in his chest? No. But at the same time, he was like, I'm getting my permit. He's like, bro, he's telling you not to reach for it. He doesn't know that you're grabbing your permit. Like, just stop. But, you got Geronimo. He was scared. And people say, oh, see, he's not Native. He was Native American. He's not white. It doesn't matter. The fact is, the institution of policing in this country, has a very specific history. And many people who join the police department adopt that sort of that identity, as essentially the slave patrol. Again, something else that people don't want to talk about. But anyway, I got to eat my food. I got my food. I'm hungry. I just wanted to make this video because I needed to get this off my chest because I haven't put out any content in a while. So anyway, that's all I got to say. And by the way, I'm trying to get this channel up so I can put links and stuff on the community tab. And I can't do that because this channel doesn't have even a 1,000 subscribers. I don't think you can do that until you get to 1,500 subscribers. So to all you floating around, you're listening, but you're not subscribing, and I'm just telling you it's a problem. But yeah, that's all I got to say. That's my video, New Jersey self-defense. I was thinking about naming my channel something else. Something, I don't know, Blactical or something. I don't know. Something's coming up with a different name. But anyway, that's all I got for you now. That's my video, New Jersey self-defense out.